This is the most activity I think we've had hearing, like, help us. These spirits here are really in despair, like they're in distress.
And Samuel Goldwyn, who's the G in MGM. Still here, right?
That was wild. We're back in LA going on another ghost adventure. This time of Hollywood. Join us as we venture into the darkest corners of the world. Prepare yourself for heart-pounding encounters, spine-tingling stories, and the unexplained. Join us if you have the courage. Welcome to the journey and to the unknown as we enter the most haunted places in the world. This episode, we went on a haunted tour and then went back to each location to do some paranormal investigating of our own. We're on the tour, checking out Hollywood and the ghost sightings.
Very terrifying. I'm so scared.
Musso and Frank, which gets to boast being the oldest restaurant in Hollywood. They've tried so hard to maintain their 100-year-old everything here. So like wallpaper, furniture. They don't like to replace any of it. They actually had the very first payphone in Hollywood. Actually still there. It's in the back of the restaurant. Of course it doesn't work. It's so old. There's an earpiece and a mouthpiece. Johnny Depp gave out the Musso and Frank payphone number to casting directors because he didn't have a phone. So that phone is where he found out he got his breakout role in
Hey.
There's that the very first fettuccine alfredo in the United States. Charlie Chaplin used to race their horses here. Charlie ate here so often that he had a favorite booth. Booth number 1 if you're trying to make your reservation. Yeah. Especially the very first window past the front door over there. Now if you happen to get that booth and you take a picture, you might get Charlie in it. So people have reported seeing him peering into the window. Other people have reported orbs, and in the orb you can make out like an eye and a nose. So I had someone on my tour one time, and they were like, oh yeah, I sat in that booth. He said he ordered a hot sandwich, could see steam coming off the sandwich as it's being set down on the table. Within seconds of it hitting the table, stone cold. I was outside that window, and the tour guide's just telling me the story, and there's like a napkin where you have a fold up napkin on the table, and it just flipped. And I was like, hold on! We're in the window, like, nobody's at the table, nobody's even there. He definitely heard. So we have Errol Flynn, and you have the spirit of Jean Harlow, who was the original blonde bombshell. Literally, that term was made for her. Now, there's one more spirit here that I don't want you to run into. She's referred to as La Mujer Sin Cabeza. So we have a headless woman wandering around Musso and Frank. Who she is and why she's missing her head, we don't know. Is she one of these celebrities? Not sure. She's missing her head.
Okay, we're back here at Musso and Frank's after close. We're gonna see if we're getting anything. I'd like to see if we can get Charlie Chaplin or Valentino. Wow, this is the most activity I think we've had in Hollywood so far. We are definitely getting something. Unless it's just like getting electricity or something. That's crazy. Why is it so high right here? Let's go over on this side, because I think this is where Charlie Chaplin would sit. She was sitting over by the window. A little bit. I was getting just a tiny bit of activity over here. Okay, I want to see if I can talk to Charlie Chaplin. I'm not getting that he's here right now. Get any activity from Valentino. Oh, I'm getting yes, actually. Does he have anything he wants to share with us? Try the food here. He said it's really good.
Did you see that sign that says partner?
Elizabeth Short, known as the Black Dahlia, frequented the bar, supposedly drinking her final drink at the bar before being murdered.
Check out our video on LA's spookiest sites here.
If you guys have ever tried to rent an apartment in Los Angeles, you know how difficult it can be. Especially if you have a pet, and all the for rent signs say no dogs or no pets. But can you imagine a time when those signs said no actors? Of course, the income of silent film actors was unreliable. That's why nobody wanted to rent to them. You guys got together and they built this building. They were Jesse Lasky, who co-founded Paramount Studios, and Samuel Goldwyn, who's the G in MGM. He's still here, right?
That was wild.
Now it does seem to also be kind of a safe haven for spirits. Prospective renters are often scared off of calling this place home. They may view in the apartment, they're like, okay, yeah, this looks nice. Ooh, never mind, I'm gonna keep looking, thank you. The man in 1920s attire will appear and then just disappear. Who else is ghost am I gonna tell you something here? Valentino. So during Prohibition, Valentino had a speakeasy in the basement here that was accessible via like a trap door on the sidewalk over on that street over there. Sometimes people have claimed to see him in the rooms as well, and you know what he's doing. He's getting into that. More recently, there was some secret occult society that did undisclosed rituals in this building. I think they might have left some energy behind because in 2011, a man murdered encountered his fiance here in the third floor hallway. It was completely out of the blue. No previous record. Nobody saw it coming. He was a writer. She was like a makeup artist who both industry people. So I don't know, did living in the building, did he absorb some sort of energy? Houdini experts believe that Houdini had stayed here. So of course we know Houdini, great escape artist, solid magician, did not believe in psychics and mediums. He spent a lot of his time debunking them. Heard about this story. There was this woman, and she predicted her own death. Sure enough, she died on the date that she said that she would. So they take pictures at her funeral, and they get a face in a tapestry near the casket. And Houdini was all over that. He's like, spiritual temple at the exact same time that the funeral taking place. They take a bunch of pictures, and he's able to prove that it was just electric. While trying to debunk that, Houdini got his own paranormal photo with this crazy streak of light going up and down the picture. So they had the negatives tested to see if they'd been scratched or tampered with in some way, but they hadn't. So this was the one and only paranormal thing that Houdini was not able to debunk. And it was his own.
So we are trying to see if we're getting anything on this. I'll get a little bit right here.
The Pantages was built in 1930 by Alexander Pantages. He's responsible for about 80 different theaters across the United States. Pantages did not have a very great time while he was in Los Angeles. He was actually involved in a scandal with the Kennedys. He's not haunting the Pantages. Howard Hughes is. So when Howard Hughes had his production company, RKO, he had the Pantages, and they actually hosted the Oscars here for 10 years. They had the Academy Awards here. This is what it looked like. So Howard Hughes' ghost has been seen mostly in the upstairs where he had his offices. Sometimes he's been seen sitting in the back of the theater, and sometimes in the offices you can just hear or see the desk drawers opening on their own and stuff like that. Now his ghost also has this accompanying odor. You would think somebody whose ghost smells like cigarette smoke, well, they must have smoked like a chimney, but total opposite. Howard Hughes hated cigarettes. Total neat freak, germaphobe. Now do you guys see like kind of kitty corner to us over there? Those are condos. Howard Hughes had a condo in that building, and as he got further and further into his reclusive behavior, he did not even want to take the walk from those condos to the Pantages to come to work, so he had a tunnel built. There was a tunnel going underground from those condos to the Pantages. I actually met the guy who manages those condos, and I was like, oh my god, can you show me the tunnel? And he was like, I can show it to you, but it's been filled in, so all you see is the entrance. In 1932, there was a woman, she was an avid theater goer. It's unknown if she died during a movie, because when it first opened, Alexander Pantages had it be a movie theater, and there were vaudeville acts in between. So there was live and movies. Either way, we do know she died in the mezzanine level during the show. And since then, her ghost comes back and sings along to all the musicals. She's been able to learn new musicals that have come out since she died. So when we had Hamilton here, I bet she was just rapping away. How do we know that this is a ghost? Well, for one, sometimes she's heard singing in the theater when there is not a show, and it's just employees here. Second reason, bless her little heart, she is singing off-key. Okay, this is the Pantages. We do not have off-key singers here. We've actually caught this off-key singing on several recordings that they've taken of the shows. And in 1994, they had some engineers review this footage, but they could not pinpoint that voice coming to anybody who was on the stage. There was a costume woman who was the last employee here for the night one night, and for some reason she doesn't go out the back employee door. She's on her way out through the theater, and all the lights shut off. So it's really dark, she gets disoriented, trips and falls. Someone comes kind of picks her up by the elbow and like guides her out. Pushes open the door, the light from the street spills in, she turns around and whoever helps her, nobody's there. So it wasn't Howard Hughes, was it this woman who sings her heart out in the mezzanine level? Some other spirit, although these spirits have always been here, they weren't that active. But in the early 90s, there was a break-in to the Pantages, and a lot of the upstairs floors were actually pretty badly damaged. After that, the activity really started like amping up. So it's almost like they were like, oh, we gotta protect our space, or they were just smoking up in the chaos.
We're back at the Pantages Theater to see if we're gonna get a reading. No, not a whole lot here. Maybe it's not very haunted. Doesn't seem like it. Let's see if we can talk to Howard Hughes. Is Howard here right now? Yes, actually. Howard is currently upstairs working, is what I'm getting. I think he's busy at work, trying to make sure the next production goes to plan.
You see it says Pacific, so this used to be Pacific Theaters. But way back in the day, this was actually the Warner Brothers Theater. We had four brothers, Harry, Albert, Sam, and Jack. Now they actually already had some success with their movie studio. Their biggest star was actually a dog named Rin Tin Tin. The third Warner Brother, Sam, he wanted to do something crazy. He wanted to sync sound to film. What? That is crazy. They only had silent movies up until this point. The other Warner Brothers were like, okay, you know, we like it, but we don't really want to lose the international market because not everybody speaks English. Other studios were like, that is not going to take. The silent film actors were like, that's just a fad. So the brothers decided to compromise. They had this silent film in 1926 called Dawn 1. And they put sound effects to it. No speaking, but it did have a soundtrack, which was already a major change because previously silent films were accompanied by live orchestras. So this was really well received by audiences. They liked the sound effects, but it had cost Warner Brothers a fortune. So they were like, our next movie has got to be a success, or like we're gonna be in trouble. Sam Warner was like, talking pictures, let's do this. And the other brothers were like, no dude, we gotta make money. Another studio was realizing that Sam Warner was onto something. And they were like, hey Sam, why don't you bring your Vitaphone over here? And the other brothers got word of this and they were like, no, you are not going to another studio. Come back, we'll make your movie. So they did. They made the first talking picture ever, The Jazz Singer. It had been a Broadway play, but they changed the ending and made it a happy ending. So they got Al Jolson, who was one of the biggest Broadway stars at the time. He got to be the first person to ever speak words in a movie, which I think is just so cool. The first words ever spoken were,
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
the plan was the other three Warner Brothers were going to go head to New York, and Sam was going to stay behind, keep overseeing construction, and then take the train just in time to go catch the premiere. It died October 5th, 1927. The day before his beloved movie that he worked so hard on had its smashingly successful premiere. It ended the silent film era. It started the talkies. And Warner finally goes into the doctors for these abscessed teeth. And they're like, actually, you have a mastoid infection in your brain. So then the poor guy had 4 brain surgeries to remove that infection. This is 4 brain surgeries in 1927. Oh my God. Sam Warner did not make it. They finally did open his theater here. So this beautiful truck. On April 26, 1928, they held a memorial for Sam. They put up a plaque commemorating all of his hard work. But considering how closely he was tied to this theater, are we really surprised that he showed back up and kept working after he died? Both staff and moviegoers would see Sam Warner storming through the lobby, either going up the stairs or up the elevators. The elevator was known to operate itself and stop on floors that nobody had pushed. The upstairs offices, if you had an office there, you'd come back after being off for the night and, you know, stuff on your desk might just be rearranged or just be gone. They would often find things clear across the theater where they had never been left in the first place. So it looked like Sam Warner was still working after he died. The nighttime security guards would often hear him up there, you know, slamming doors, dragging chairs around. He does seem to be kind of an angry ghost. It is abandoned. So what happened? Well, in 1994, we had a massive earthquake here, the Northridge earthquake, and that damaged the Pacific Theater so badly that it closed. Okay, like little school face. Yeah. I wanted to believe that that could have been some debris, like in the window, but I've taken pictures of the window since then, and you still see this debris in the window, but not this. So, is that Sam Warner?
Back at the Pacific Theater, looking to see if we're getting any EMF. Oh, I was getting a little over here, actually. Let's see. And they're not really getting anything. Oh, I get a little bit more in there, actually. Oh, it's getting something. Seeing if we get anything here. Actually getting, no, let's see. Yeah, maybe a little bit. There's definitely some kind of activity, like a woman. Get the sense there's coming out like woman in here.
This theater was built in 1927 by Sid Roth. The other third owners were Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford. They were the first people to put their handprints and footprints here in 1927. It was actually kind of an accident. Either Sid himself or actress Norma Talmadge accidentally stepped in the wet concrete during the construction of the theater, and it gave them the idea to add the handprints and the footprints of the stars. Have you guys ever heard of a man named Victor Killian? It's kind of my boy. So Victor got his start on Broadway in the 1920s. Throughout the 30s and 40s, he was a notable character on during films. He always had kind of a smaller supporting role, but he appeared in over 100 movies in just a few decades. During the filming of the John Wayne movie, there was a fight scene that they were working on, and there was an accident that lost him one of his eyes. So this guy's big enough, he's losing eyes in John Wayne movies, and then we get to the 1950s, and he is blacklisted. So when fear of communism was rampant in America at the time, anybody remotely believed to have any ties to communism. Even if someone just didn't like you, that happened to Victor Killian. Now, it didn't stop him from acting. He was not allowed to do film, but he could do television. For being on the show Mary Hartman, starring Louise Lasser. But this right here is Victor Killian. So he, at 88 years old, was also in an episode of All in the Family. Also in this same episode was another older gentleman named Charles Wagenheim, who was 83. So just about a week before the episode that they were both in aired, Charles Wagenheim was found murdered in his own apartment. He had been beaten to death. Now, they did find out who did it. It had been an employee of his. She had been stealing money from him by writing checks in his name. He found out about it and confronted her, and then she killed him. 5 days after Charles was murdered, so was Victor Killian. In the exact same way, beaten to death in his own apartment. Unfortunately, his case went cold. They never found out who killed him. So, shortly after he was murdered, his ghost started showing up here, in the courtyard of the Chinese theater. Well, why is he haunting here and not the apartment where he was killed? So some people think, oh, he must have just come here that night and seen a movie. He probably walked home since it was so close. But the reason I think he's here is because he was friends with all these people, you know? He was in movies with half of these people that are here. Plus, I think he probably has unfinished business, you know? He's like, is this foot wet? Can I get my foot in here? Because, you know, he never got to be part of it since he was blacklisted. What happens is people will be here wandering around, looking at all the cranes, well, when it's open, I guess. And people will see this old man, and some people think he's lost, or maybe he's looking for someone, but then you look again, and he's gone. We talked about the Black Dahlia murder case a while ago, right? So the homicide detective on Victor Killian's murder case was a man named Steve Odell, who later came out saying he thought his father, George Odell, had murdered the Black Dahlia.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss part 2 of Haunted Hollywood as we check out Hollywood's most haunted sites, including the infamous Roosevelt Hotel.
Awakening from activity.